Okay, welcome everyone. My name's HeatherAsh Amara, and I am really, really delighted to have my mentor and dear friend Peggy Dillon here today to talk about firewalking. Peggy is the mama of firewalking internationally and is one of the most amazing humans on the planet. So I wanted to start by just sharing Peggy and her story about what brought her to firewalking, what the inspiration was, Peggy, and just what is it that you want to share about firewalking? What are you passionate about, and how did you get where you are now?
Well, it's as all these things are. It's a long story, and I'm going to reduce it here. My personal interest in spiritual growth started as a child when my sister died, threw me into a psycho-spiritual crisis that I started to look for tools to move out of, and I started working with various teachers. From India, Native American teachers, South American teachers. But when I came across firewalking for the first time, which was in the early 80s, it moved something so deeply in me that I realized it had to be made available to human beings. Up until this time, it was secret practice. It's been practiced on this planet since before recorded history. We've had firewalking everywhere from Sri Lanka and India through Tibet, Africa, European continent, in pre-Roman times. When the missionaries got here to North America, they had great firewalking fraternities where to this day we use the firewalk both for internal healing and gathering power for external accomplishment. And that's what the Indians, the Native Americans were walking for, both the collection of personal power for external achievement, for example, the hunt, or for healing and attunement. You know, throughout this, on this little planet, people have firewalked for thousands of years. And they've always firewalked for connecting with the infinite through their energetic system, and then using that power for wherever it's needed in one's life. If it's healing, if it's accomplishment in the world, if it's making relationships work, or if it is connecting to the infinite in a more dynamic and fantastic way. And so when I touched on it in the 80s, it was like, okay, this is no longer meant to be a secret practice. This is meant to get out there. And that's like when I think you went through the training in the mid 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what that came out of, is we've got to share this. It's such a powerful method.
Yeah, and I know the firewalking now is everywhere, which is so beautiful that there's so much now. As you said, you really were one of the instruments that was chosen by the fire, is how I think about it, to bring the
Right.
firewalk to humanity. And that's really happened more and more. And I know my first firewalk was so life-changing. And I went just kind of on a whim, and of just like, oh, this sounds like a neat thing. And it wasn't until we were raking the fire out that I went, oh my gosh, this is real.
Right.
And I think that's what so much is so beautiful about the firewalk, is it's such a tangible way to move energy and to connect. And now I really see firewalking as a prayer, and
Yeah.
and as a way to raise energy, as a way to focus, as a way to celebrate, which is something that Sundoor is so wonderful around, is that incredible celebration of the fire and the
Well,
gift.
it's the joy that happens in the human body. I mean, anytime we experience spirit, there's an underlying accompaniment of joy
Yes.
that goes with that grace. And when we firewalk, that joy comes in because the body experiences it. For me, that's one of the reasons firewalking is so incredibly powerful, is because it isn't something that we do with our minds only.
Yes.
It's something that affects our whole body. And as we all know, once it's in the body, it remains with us. It stays with us. That's why trauma can be so hard to get rid of, because it's in the body. The fear is in the body. But the joy can also be anchored into the body, and the sense of accomplishment, and the sense of high self-esteem, and all of that gets anchored with the firewalk. And I think that's one of the reasons, if not the primary reasons, it's so incredibly transformative. What I wanted to talk about, of course, here was also the training, not just firewalking, but the capacity. You were in one of the first, or the first, I think it was the second training you were in, way back in the 80s. Yeah. We've developed a methodology that allows people to become what I think of as carriers of the flame, that they can carry the fire and teach others how to firewalk. And and that is such an amazing gift. So many people, after they've gone through their own healing, start feeling a desire to pass it on, to heal others with it. How do we move what we've experienced as far as healing, transformation, and learning about our own capacities? How do we pass that on to humanity? And what I've developed is a course in a relatively short amount of time, a week, where I teach these empowerment methods, the firewalk, the rebar, and the arrow, all of them that just cause such amazing movement for people. And that is where my heart lies. I mean, if I had one thing that I could do, if I knew I was only going to live for a few more months, what I would do is gather as many people together and teach them the gifts I have been able to learn to share, so that the healing would keep going. And that's my passion, is really teaching teachers. And that's the certification training that we've put together here.
Yeah, and it's such an amazing training. I mean, I've watched it change and grow over the years. With the foundation is the same. It starts with self-transformation. And from then the self-transformation, then we share the tools. And the tools are so powerful. As you said, it's about getting past the mind. And to be able to do something, like, I know for me, to be able to do something like lead a firewalk, where you can go into a room of 100 people and have them be scared, nervous, curious, checking things out, and at the end have everyone open, excited, like ready to go and transform their life. There's nothing like that. And it's just magic.
It's an amazing experience. And the other thing that I love about working with the firewalk is the fact that you don't have to do it all yourself.
Yes.
Your ally in this work is the element of transformation. And so whether you consider yourself a good speaker or not is rather unimportant, because what you learn in the training is how to tend the fire and care for the fire so that your people can walk across it. And that is the healing.
Yes.
The healing, your job as a leader of the firewalk is really to get their minds aligned with the capacity to do it. And then the fire does all the healing. And it's, to me, one of the gifts is watching people who really feel they don't have the capacity to lead workshops. They haven't developed that. Learn that with this ally of the fire, with this friend who helps them provide this base for a workshop, they have tremendous success.
Yes. And
people go from feeling inadequate or unsure to leading extremely successful firewalks for all different groups. I'm thinking of this girl from Mexico, went through the training last year, who's just been hired to lead 5 corporate groups. Wow. And when she came to me, she was sort of like this little, I'm going to say ditzy hippie chick. I don't know how else to say it. She just was very enthusiastic and joyful, but didn't really had never developed leadership capacity.
Yes. Yes.
And the fire gave her such confidence that she just got hired for these five corporate walks. I mean, it's just the miracles are outstanding, just outstanding.
I love it. And I know it's so true. And I know for me, I was so shy when I first, I mean, people that know me now are like, you were never shy. I'm like, I was so shy. And I remember I went to the first firewalk, totally changed my life. And then about, I don't know, a month later, I got something in the mail from you that said there's a fire leadership training coming up. And my whole being was like, yes. And my mind was like, are you kidding? You couldn't do this. And I remember putting it down, and then my whole body was like, yes, I must. And I picked it up again, and I looked at when it was, like, when the payment was due. And I was like, oh, there's no way I can do this. There's no way. Put it back down again. And my body was like, you must. And I picked it up, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I need to make this happen. And it was so much a body. Like, my head had one whole logical, but my being knew I want to be an ally of the fire. And I feel like the fire picks us and just says, come on, sweetie, you can do it. So I went and borrowed money, sold my computer, like took out loans from my friends, did the training, and within a month I had paid everybody back. And I was different. Like, I was just such a different person. And it seems like, well, how can something change so much in 7 days? But I know from watching myself and then watching many people go through the training now, and I've been very blessed to be an assistant for many of the trainings and then also to teach a couple of the trainings now, that this, just the amazement of watching people, like you said, that you can come in and our minds might go, how are they going to ally with, like, huh? And then the way that you've set up the training, both in connecting people to the fire, and then all the leadership skills that you give and the energy, there's nothing like it. So I'm so excited about the training. I've always been really passionate about it, and I'm so honored to get to work with you again and to share the Firewalk training coming up in December.
So lovely, HeatherAsh, and thanks for this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to share with folks, if you want to get more information around Peggy and Sundor, she has an incredible website, sundor.com. Lots of resources, lots of information. And the training is coming up, as you probably know because you've read the information, but it's coming up December 8th through the 14th, I believe. And it's in Twain Harte, which is just outside of Yosemite. Really beautiful place. And it's a gift that you give to yourself and you give to everyone around you. Because I also know that sometimes just doing something like the certification transforms us, and then we go into the world and our energy is different. So we heal ourselves, the people around us start to heal. And then there's also all these tools, which are almost the bonus from the transformation that's already happened inside. So Peggy, one last thing. If you, I love that you said if you could do one thing before you died, that it would be around sharing the fire with people more. And what's your favorite part of the Firewalk training?
It's actually a sort of strange one. My favorite part is the night I'm not there. That the group leads their own firewalk.
Yes.
Because at the end of that, they have claimed the fire and the fire has claimed them as carriers of the fire. And the transformation from the beings who walk in the room until the next morning, when suddenly, oh my God, I have just become a firewalk instructor. Not because Peggy said so, but because the fire said so. So that, for me, is the gift.
So beautiful. I'm getting chills remembering. Oh, yes. Yes. So come play with us. And if you want to get more information, check out Sundor, call Tosi, call us up on the phone, talk to Cindy. Cindy's an incredible resource. She's been part of Sundor for years and years and is happy to talk to anyone that wants to get more information, as is the folks at Tosi. So thanks again, Peggy, for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm just so happy to see you. Love you too, sweetheart.
Bye-bye.
Bye.